What's up and welcome to the animated series where we showcase the dopest talent and untold stories behind the animation industry. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Alyssa Rosa, and today is an important day for me, quite honestly. I'm here with Emmy-nominated creator, NIKI LOPEZ.
Hi, everybody.
I feel so lucky to sit across from you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. This is such a cool honor to be here.
So you've said Fern Gully drew you into storytelling because you felt so passionate about the world that you continue to draw out their story for a long time after. Mm-hmm. Do you still have those stories and drawings?
I'm sure in one of the many boxes back home, deep in those boxes is my collection of Fern Gully alternate universe storyboards.
It's not the main event, the main canon event?
In my head, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So how has growing up in Puerto Rico influenced you creatively, and how did the transition to coming to the States affect you growing up?
I was always so very inspired by nature, by the rainforest. Whenever we would visit my grandmother, she lived on the opposite side of the island. So many times we'd go over the weekend, like 2-hour road trips over to the other side. And back then we really didn't distract ourselves with iPads or iPhones or anything of the sort. So my imagination was on hyperdrive, and I was just looking out at the mountains and imagining like, ooh, what kind of mythical creatures could live there? And I was just manifesting all these stories like a little film playing out in my head. Those hours lost from one point to another allowed my imagination to sort of become like a playground, and I would always make use of that time creating those stories and then drawing them. Back when I graduated high school, there weren't a lot of schools that were specializing in animation over in Puerto Rico. And I ended up going to Florida. I did computer animation for a little bit, but I graduated during the recession of 2008, so I went back to Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And I was working in advertising for a little bit. After a while, I felt that pull of honoring that dream that I had when I was little, that I wanted to be part of the world of animation, that I wanted to create these stories and these characters. And so I took a leap of faith and I came all the way over here.
So creatively, how have you been able to bring both those worlds together? Puerto Rico and then, experiencing life as a young adult in the United States.
It was a little bit of a journey. It wasn't like an immediate thing.
Right.
Because when I fostered the courage to start pitching to the studio, I was always approaching it from the angle of like, oh, I think this is what they want to hear. And it wasn't until I started honoring my perspective, where I came from, and the mythology from back home, that all of a sudden people were really intrigued, because that wasn't their experience, and they wanted to hear more about my unique perspective. So that was sort of like the aha moment. I'm like, well, there's plenty more where that came from, so here you go. Here's all my world and all my characters, and yeah.
Because you started as an intern for Nickelodeon.
Yes.
And then a PA. Mm-hmm. Then you went on to a color designer for Fairly Odd Parents, Harvey Beaks, and of course Glitch Text.
Yes.
Can you talk about the transition from being an intern to then being a full-time animation professional? And then additionally, if you had any challenges that you faced.
Ooh, I felt like my biggest goal was to become an art director in animation. But then I was witnessing all this incredible talent, the writers, your animators, your modelers, your painters, your character designers. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much that I need to learn. And I also realized that there were a lot of skills, leadership skills, that I wanted to develop working in production. Because I did observe that sometimes the best art directors, the best leads, are those that have had production experience. So I took it upon myself to learn from those individuals and continue evolving in production as I transitioned from intern to a production assistant. And then an opportunity popped up with Fairly Odd Parents. I tried for cleanup artists, I tried for revisionists. The one that I least expected that I would get, which was color designing, that was the one that they were like, this is really good. I was working on Fairly Odd Parents for like 2 years, and then after that came Harvey Beaks. And that was such a phenomenal crew. Everybody was so sweet and so collaborative. And Carl Greenblatt was a really great creator showrunner that encouraged all of us artists to tell our stories. It was a very accepting environment, and people felt compelled to take chances and pitch ideas. And when you have such a positive environment like that, I don't know, I felt pretty good in what I was doing for the show, and it also gave me additional time to start nursing this dream of, I want to pitch too. I want to tell stories. And that was around the time that I was like, well, let me just take this leap of faith, and I started pitching specifically to Nick Jr. because I really loved what they were doing. The worlds that they were creating, the characters were so funny, and I resonated with them a lot more than what was being done with the Big Nick side at the time.
So we're talking about Nickelodeon, you're talking about your own show, Santiago and the Seas.
Yes.
It's a very popular animated series. You know, it combines adventure and learning. How do you balance the lessons for the show's audience, such as bilingualism with its storytelling?
One thing that was very important for me with the show was to make sure that it was approached in the most authentic way possible, that we weren't talking down to our viewers. One thing that I wanted to do with Santiago that I didn't feel had manifested yet on the preschool scape, I really wanted it to feel organic as we exposed this code switching between English and Spanish, so it felt authentic to the Spanish-speaking household, the bilingual household. Preschool viewers are so smart and so intelligent, and you don't have to slow things down. They can pick up on things, especially when you're repeating certain things. I got so much feedback later on from parents who they were part of the diaspora. They had moved to the States, and their kids were essentially first generation, and they had written to me saying how they had tried for so long to have their kids want to learn Spanish. And once they started watching Santiago, they saw a hero that honored their language, looked the way that they did. They had a genuine interest in learning more about their language and certain cultural specificity, like, oh, I want to know more about the little frog, the coqui, or
Love cookies.
bomba, or know, this is why I like working in preschool. I think that we can make a very powerful impact there. There's still so much room, I feel, for so many individuals from the Latin community to tell their stories, because just because we decide to do something that is so culturally specific doesn't mean that we strip it away from its universal appeal.
Right.
And that was a very important goal that I wanted for Santiago, that we could be very specific to Latino Caribbean culture and still present lessons and themes that would resonate worldwide.
So for you personally, are there any particular themes or messages that you like to explore in your projects?
I'm always trying to elevate what I'm producing with some sort of social commentary that can resonate with our viewers. Specifically for Santiago, I mean, Santiago was born at a very interesting time. We had the elections of 2016, and a lot of toxic things were being said, especially about the Latino community.
Yeah.
So to me, it was important to showcase a hero who was kind, who always did what was right, and he was Latino. He was the protagonist. He wasn't your background comedic character. He wasn't your villain. He wasn't your love interest. He was right there, center stage, doing what was right and looking after his community.
So I'm gonna ask you a very random question right now.
Let's do it.
What draws you to the paranormal and ghost stories?
Oh my God,
Okay.
everything.
Let's talk about it. I
feel
love
like I'm-
horror stories. I love spookiness. Let's talk about it.
I love working for the preschool audience, don't get me wrong. But oh my gosh, my final boss form would be to direct horror films. That is my
Ooh.
absolute dream. I love it so much. What draws me to the paranormal? My family background, I guess. My dad's from Cuba, he's Cuban, and I would hear all these fascinating stories about Santeria from my great-grandmother
Yes.
and rituals that would take place. And something about the mysticism really resonated with me when I was very little, and I was always so curious. And then from my mom's side, where she grew up, this is a town that is riddled with ghost stories and legends of unidentified objects flying over the mountains.
this.
And I just feel like there's so much to play there. I really, really want to create as many spooky stories as I can.
Okay.
Especially if we're tapping into the mysticism of the Caribbean, which I feel is so rich.
Yes.
And hasn't been fully
No, not at
explored.
all. Not at all. What kind of research or preparation do you undertake to create the unique worlds for your stories?
For Santiago, a big part of me entering the mindset to tell that story involved going back home. I just went to Old San Juan and started writing. I really believe in tapping into the energy of a place and it serving as a sort of muse for me to tell the story that I want to tell.
That's cool. Do you feel as if like actually being on location is a vital part of your creative process?
I would say so.
Yeah?
It can get expensive though.
Yeah, I know. It's still nice to go places, but it
Yes.
sounds that way, and
It's about getting,
interesting.
getting out of the comfort zone for
Yeah.
sure. Is a big part of it.
Congratulations, by the way, on the Emmy nomination for
That was-
outstanding
Yes.
preschool animated series.
It was such a sweet validation.
So what has the experience been like for you to receive such a prestigious nomination and see your work being recognized on such a grand scale?
Getting recognized alone, that's huge, but we had just gotten word, the industry is changing and there's definitely smaller orders for seasons. So where we found ourselves with Santiago was, well, we're going to wrap up on season 2. Y'all are going on hiatus. We don't know when you'll come back. Maybe in a year, maybe in 10 years. We don't know. We'll see.
Oh, wow.
So sadness is expected.
Right.
It's my first kid, and they were going into a sleeping beauty state for who knows how long. And October, which tends to be my happiest month, that's when we got the announcement. I was very much heartbroken, and I was just riddled with this fear of like, what comes next? Is this it? Because there's so many creators and showrunners that they have their show, and then there's nothing else afterwards.
Right.
Come November 1st, we get told that we're nominated for an Emmy. So to me, it felt like the show's worth was being recognized, that we were doing something that had value and was important. We'll see when Santi comes back, but it's not a bad way to momentarily exit the stage with Santiago,
Okay.
to walk away with that nomination.
How does it feel going back home? And honestly, not just like the Emmy nomination, but just going back home and being like, I did this. And how has your family responded to like?
Oh, my
your
mom's
success?
always crying. I've never seen her cry so much over a preschool show. So that's been kind of cool. I definitely have pushed her levels of emotions as far as I could, for the better, I guess. But it's been pretty neat.
For a lot of showrunners, they tend to run into a lot of problems or losing their voice through the chaos of production. How do you tap back into your core and remember why you want to do this work in the first place?
Listen, I have to be honest about this because I feel like with such a demand for unique, diverse perspectives, I feel like this tends to happen. But as a person of color who this was my first time in a leadership position, a lot of times you are given a support group that or mentors that don't really end up supporting you in a way that honors the story, the cultural heritage. I at least felt early on like I was the cultural hall pass, like, oh, that's very cute,
Yeah.
but we want to do this instead. And here's a press opportunity. Here, you're our face of diversities.
Yeah, the usual.
Bring the exactly. And thankfully, with time, the people that did not align or honored my original vision of the show, we certainly parted ways, and I felt very happy that during season 2 I had the best possible team to support the original vision of the show. and really elevate the stakes, the specificity of the show. It was a journey. All first seasons are very difficult. This one was wrapped in a bundle of complications and chaos, but I feel like it's all about perspective, right? I feel like they made me a stronger leader, and they also made me realize the kind of things that I don't want to do onto others, how I want to build an inclusive environment that supports everybody's voices and gives them what they provide so they can do the best that they can, you know?
For any viewers out there, do you have any advice, especially because your story is, there's a lot of people who come from another country and come here with a dream, you know? Do you have any advice for them, or anything you could speak to about maybe tough times, just to like give them a little bit of spark of hope, especially during this time in the industry?
It's very important to branch out and build your network. Don't underestimate the power and, I don't know, I guess the gifts that come with maybe starting in a position that, for example, I felt like I needed to start as an intern. Despite having graduated, I was open to the lessons that would come from that experience. And I feel like by taking those lessons from being an intern, from being a PA, from being a designer, it has helped me approach my leadership in a way that I can be more empathetic for what's needed on the production side, for understanding what the artist, what the writer, what do they need, and how we can make it come together in a way that works for the budget, for the schedule, for there to be like a work-life balance, that people aren't getting burnt out and we're able to do the best that we can with the time provided.
So we talked about representation and how important it is, not only to you, but to myself and everyone watching. Are there any creators out there that you feel are making stories not similar to you, but in the same right as you, where it's like you're Latina creating a Latin story? Like, do you have any one that you can pinpoint that possibly is doing the exact same thing, or you get inspiration from?
I have to give a shout out to one of my mentors, which is Jorge Gutierrez. He's been doing it for the longest time. He's definitely one that's always trying to push for representation and bringing more people to tell their stories. Another great one is Carissa Valencia. She's doing Spirit Rangers, which is phenomenal. If you haven't watched it, give it a watch. And oh my God, Spider-Verse makes me cry so much, because I just see the Puerto Rican, the New Yorican representation.
That's me.
It's us. And you've got some major juggernauts in there. You've got Phil Lord, you've got Peter Ramsey, you've got Kent Powers. It's just back-to-back legends creating something that has had, I feel like that movie has had such a profound impact, especially on the feature side of animation. Everybody's trying to do what they've done. So.
Yes. So I have one last question for you.
Okay.
And I love to ask every guest this.
Yes.
What change do you want to see in animation in the next few years?
I would love for us to take a chance on original concepts again.
Ooh, yes.
Yes, IP, pre-existing IP is great, but all pre-existing IP started as original content. So, yes.
Well, thank you.
Oh, thank you. This is so awesome.
It was so lovely having you and being able to talk to you and learn from you. Do you want to play a game with me?
Yes.
Let's play a game. All right, let's play Animationary. It's basically Pictionary with an animation twist. So what's going to happen is Nikki and I are going to play. We're going to draw one name from this hat. Keep it to yourself.
Yep.
Keep it to myself. And then we'll have to guess basically who the character is. We get 3 tries each.
Okay.
You'll go twice. I'll go once.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds great.
I'm going to look away.
Yes.
I love that song.
I'm going to try.
This is going to bring us closer together as besties.
This is going to be so bad. I'm so excited. His body.
All right.
I feel so bad for him.
Is it Yogi Bear?
Yes, it is. Oh my God. There we go. There's my Yogi.
That was amazing. Okay, so now it's my turn.
Okay.
I will pick.
Fare thee well, Yogi.
I'm sorry, this is my destiny right now. Okay. Well, this is gonna be bad for you. I'm so sorry.
No. There is no such thing as bad art.
Well, wait till you see mine. You know what? It's just gonna have to be this, and I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
No. I'm so ready.
You gave me the idea of a
Superman?
stick. I mean, in the realm of like super like,
So happy.
yes. So let's play on that. Very happy.
Can we get another clue?
Iconic Pixar IP.
Oh, Buzz?
Ding, ding, ding. My sad representation of Buzz Lightyear, who I love so much.
Oh God, this is gonna be awful.
You saw how I drew Buzz. Like, I don't think it's gonna get any worse than that.
This is why I should be watching more cartoons.
We all should.
Okay.
Ready? Oh no, do I know this character?
That's how bad I am.
It's not Bruno from Encanto, is it?
No, but it could be young Bruno.
Young Bruno.
I will admit, I feel like it looks nothing like the character.
Is it Mario from Super Mario World?
No.
Who is it?
This was my terrible portrayal of Craig. It looks nothing like Craig. Listen, I admitted
That was a good. Here she comes, our showrunner, our producer, you know, the person who.
And then just go. It's just the cheek pop that also comes out and becomes.
Oh my God, that's right.
And then you.
Oh my goodness.
Technically, you won because.
Did I?
Yeah. What's up, and welcome to the animated series where we showcase the dopest talent and untold stories behind the animation industry. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Alyssa Rosa, and today I'm joined by none other than voice actor, voice director, ANJALI KUNAPANENI. How are you?
Hello, doing good.
Happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm a big fan.
That is so sweet.
You have had quite the journey in voice acting.
Yeah, crazy, tumultuous, wild journey. And also kind of short. It's only been a few years.
Really? It doesn't feel like that.
No, it doesn't feel like that for me either. I started in like 2020, and so things have just been
Taking off ever since.
crazy. Yeah.
So as kids, we feel deep connections to the characters that we see on television, whether it's an animated movie, a live action movie. For you, I've heard you had a deep, deep connection with Mae Whitman's characters.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, here's the thing. I, like every person on planet Earth, was obsessed with Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Rightfully so.
And specifically Katara, because Katara looked like me. And,
Yes.
you know, she was strong and, like, so, like, she was just a character I really looked up to. And I think once I started to realize voice actors are people and there's, like, a
Right.
human behind all of these characters that I love, I think Mae Whitman was one of the first that really caught my eye. And I loved her. I remember watching, like, the Tinkerbell movies and, like,
Wow.
a bunch of stuff that she was in, and she's one of the people that always come to mind.
Since you were a kid.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
awesome. You said before that you never really allowed yourself to really dive into performance, especially since you're still very early on in your career.
I started acting, period, really, in like 2019, 2020, like leading right into the pandemic. And so, yeah. If you asked me like pre-2019 if I ever thought I would be an actor, no, it wouldn't have been a thing. I would have laughed. I was like, you know, very much like classic immigrant story. Like it was, my goal was get into college and then get a job and then, you know, make a lot of money and then like fulfill the American dream or whatever it was. I was like captain of the debate team on student council and everything in high school.
Wow.
I went to like a good school thinking I would go to law school. My degree's in public policy.
Whoa.
I took a swift left turn into acting, which I don't know.
What influenced that?
It was completely by accident, which I think is like the story for a lot of voice actors. Because I just had like a friend who was really into podcasts, and I saw someone like on social media or something looking for an actor, you know, it was just like a fun little project. I was like, I can do that. Like, that seems really fun. It was summer. I had an internship that just finished. I was like, I need hobbies. And it kind of just spiraled from there. And I think at some point I woke up and was like, wait, I think I actually love doing this thing that I'm doing for fun more than anything I've ever done before. and I started talking to like other people who were like actually actors on social media, and I feel like it's kind of like a disease where you can get infected because enough people are passionate about something and talk about it enough that you're like, well, I want to see what it is that you fell in love with, and like you get exposed to it more and more and more, and then it gets you. And that's what happened to me.
Which is a great thing. I mean, I think it's inspiring too, especially because, like you said, you didn't really get your like start until like 2020, really, right?
Yeah, I kind of started in animation, but then also in like dubbing and video games around the same time. And those are so vastly different. And to me, the biggest difference is the fact that animation takes years, and some video games take years to come out.
Right.
And you just have to, you know, sit on your NDA and be like, one day, about most of them. I think my very first job was Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy to be like, my first job is Yu-Gi-Oh! Because everyone knows Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
I think it kind of changed things for me because I think that was my first professional job. Getting to know the industry in theory versus like being a part of it in practice was like a really jarring, bizarre feeling because I was recording from like my closet in Virginia for like almost a year before I got like a proper booth.
So do you have any like advice for young people out there that may want to go the same route as you or were on your previous route in life, or like, I don't know, I kind of want to try something different. It may not have to be animation or acting. It could be being in production, being a director, writer. Do you have any advice for them?
I guess my biggest piece of advice, specifically to that second part, because I feel like that's the kind of person that needs to hear it the most, because we're very stubborn and we're like, you know, when you have a set path, it's so hard to see anything else. You get tunnel vision. Right. You don't think about like the possibility of anything if you don't feel like you have options. And for me, discovering I had options was kind of crazy. This is the most cliche piece of advice. If you think of yourself like on your deathbed at like 80 years old and you look back, are you gonna have regrets? 'Cause I think that's what pushed me over the edge. Because I was like, maybe I'll be, you know, wrinkled and rich and like whatever, but I think I'll be really sad I didn't take one acting class.
So what were some of your favorite shows, movies, and animation growing up?
My thing was I watched everything. Like
Really?
I genuinely feel like my friends will be like, what? Because I was like on every channel. I'd be naming shows from like Discovery Kids, and for a couple years I was really obsessed with like Danny Phantom and like Jake Long, American Dragon, and
I've never watched Danny Phantom in full.
You are missing out. You should go back and watch
Everybody
it.
tells me that.
You really should.
But I watched The Fairly Odd Parents. Does that count?
It doesn't. I love The Fairly Odd Parents, but I don't know why. Danny Phantom, I was like really obsessed for a while there.
Is it just like the darkness of it, or?
I feel like the secret identity stuff, like there's like an element of like, I don't know what it is about it. I always gravitated towards those kind of stories. I thought it was super fun.
For you, what's it like going from a voice actor to a voice director? Because it's like you're kind of switching your hat, but it's still in the same, you know, realm.
You know, I think the thought processes of like justifying character motivations and like how you think that they would react to certain situations, or like just you know, where you're taking character and like certain like little idiosyncrasies, whatever it is, like justifying that in your head as an actor is something that I think is like very parallel to like what a director does. Because you still allow an actor to make those choices, but you're like the buoy in the water. Like you kind of create the sandbox for them to play in a little bit. And it's a very cool process. It's so collaborative and interesting to me being on the other side of it. And it's informed my acting. Because like like when you're directing someone and you know what you need to get out of that person, you know what you need from them to serve the story, to progress the scene forward, to, you know, match like the energy level and tone and whatever from the other actor who often isn't in session with you, because you know, with voiceover, usually you're just recording the one actor at a time. Like having to keep track of all that has informed me as an actor, because I'm like, well, then how do I make their job easier and like make this session smoother? And like now that I know the million things that they're thinking about, I can like meet their expectations better when I'm the one in the booth. So it's really interesting. They're two jobs that I feel like I think every actor should at least try to like learn about directing, if not direct. And I think directors could benefit from like being in the other role too. Like I think it's a really interesting dynamic.
So we talked about the differences between voice acting, voice directing. I kind of want to focus a little bit more on voice acting for those people out there that want to get started. What a lot of people don't know actually is that when you're in the booth, you're actually by yourself, not really bouncing off another character or another person. For you, whether it's current or in the beginning, did you ever find it challenging to do that?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like whether you're a newer actor or, you know, a lot of on-camera actors who've been doing it for years, transitioning into voice acting, I think definitely find it challenging too. Some of my first jobs were dubbing, and that's kind of like double like, you have to have so much technical skill with it because you're matching lip flap and timing, and it's very precise, and like, it's hard to be in the moment when you're, you know, having to pay attention to a million things, and then doing all that on top of like being a single person in a booth and like all of the energy, like you're creating the atmosphere entirely on your own. It's really tough, and I think it takes time and experience to like be able to put yourself in that place, especially for different characters. I know like when I'm playing like a really like high energy character, it takes a little bit for me to like get into that and like figure out, well, how high energy can I be before I sound insane? Because I don't know what the other person sounds like. They could be speaking like so calmly, and that's something I had to learn, because I would hear some stuff back later and I'd be like, wow, we're on different pages. But I think also like as like when I transitioned into professional work, things started to change a little bit because you work with professional voice directors who know what they're doing and like are there to make sure you don't sound crazy. My favorite style of directing when I get to work with a really great director is we play off of each other, and that helps a lot because obviously it kind of solves the problem right there. I think it's trusting yourself and trusting the director, and that goes a long way.
Of all the characters that you do play though, do you have one that's like your favorite to just go back and have fun with?
My favorite and one I want to have, like, I think is really fun are two different answers. Okay. My favorite character by far, I played the lead in a show that came out this year called Heavenly Delusion. The main character in that, Inu-oh. I don't want to spoil anything, but the show is crazy. The character goes through a lot, but it's kind of an actor's, like, dream role, because there's just so much there. You know, every single episode like had just such a journey to go on. There was so much story to tell that I felt like spoiled getting to play that role, and so I will gush about it forever.
And then you said you had one that was really fun.
Ooh, probably Shinigami in Master Detective Archives Rain Code, which just came out. She is the character I've spent the most time with. I think I recorded like over 100 hours for her. And she's insane. She is. And just like balls to the wall crazy. She is. And like, I love that about her. I don't get to just like let loose that often, like as a person, but also as an actor. And so she's a character that like has no boundaries. And so it was fun to like get to go there.
Outside of voice directing, voice acting, have you done anything else within, you know, the animation industry or video game industry, like maybe production manager?
Yeah, I am a production supervisor at NYAV Post. We do dubs for a lot of projects. Recently we did Star Wars Visions. We just did the new Slam Dunk movie.
Wow, oh, that's awesome.
So it's been really cool. I've really enjoyed my work there. It's creatively satisfying in a different way. My thing is I just like to see like every part of the process, and that's like an especially interesting part of the process that people don't talk about as much. You're kind of the glue that is holding everything together and like connecting all the different pieces, and it's just like a big thing of Jenga. And then I also do a lot of writing. I do like adapting for ADR scripts, which is like, you know, taking the raw translations of all this like foreign language material coming in and like making it match lip flap and ready for like an actor in a dubbing studio to go in and dub. I do some video game writing. I like to keep busy.
Do you feel like it's necessary for anyone that wants to enter this industry to, you know, do production, write, act, do everything that they can?
I don't know if it's necessary, but I feel like they should. Like, I think getting a little taste of everything, and I haven't had a taste of everything. I feel like I've had a taste of like a couple things in my little corner of the industry that's separate from a lot of like entertainment. But I feel like you learn so much. Like, I know how production schedules go and like having to fit everything in and like thinking about how other people in the process are affected by how you're involved in the process, I think will inevitably influence how you like come in as an actor. Like everyone can gain something from it.
Can you share with us any like, not low moments specifically, but the things you do in those low moments to get yourself back?
That's a really good question because I think I'm still trying to find an answer that works for me because it's a tough industry and like 90% of it is rejection, like on the daily. I joke with my friends that like half this job is just compartmentalizing because you kind of have to separate yourself from like every audition where you're like, you know, you kind of like put your heart and soul into it and you connect with the character and then you send it off to be judged by the world. And then they either say, we want you or we don't. And you have to be okay with that. And I think for me, what's like helped me just keep a positive spin on it and like keep going despite that is the job isn't acting, the job is acting, but the job is auditioning. And like even getting to play these characters for like the 15, 20 minutes that I'm like in the booth just like recording an audition for them is fun and interesting and cool. And like even that little bit is a nice luxury that like a lot of people are not getting to just, you know, create characters and have fun and like play in their imagination every day for work. Being cast in something and booking a role that is like really meaningful to you, like that wouldn't have happened without all the rejections, you know? And so I feel like it's a give and take, an ebb and a flow. And so you just have to enjoy it while you can. Like you know, you're not owed anything and you're not entitled to anything. And so I think going at it from that perspective and also just getting to like expose yourself to like all these different stories that you're auditioning for, like, and all these like characters and ideas that people have come up with and like getting just like a little piece of like all the love and passion they've put into it is really cool.
So there's a wonderful voice acting community called QueerVox that focuses on training LGBTQIA+ people, which apparently is how some of our friends found you.
Yeah, which is crazy because I didn't realize it's kind of amazing to see a community that started as small as it did like grow to what it's become, and for so many people who aren't in like the voice acting bubble to begin with, like slowly find their way in, because that's the whole point. And like that's the like invitation that we're trying to put out is this is a really hard industry to break into. This is a hard craft to learn and like find access to. And so we want people to be able to find that and like have this place where this is for you. Please come and take it. Like come learn as much as you can and like take advantage of like these resources we're trying to offer. The industry is very specific and like a lot of people have not had access to just basic entry level, like how do I do anything? The point of QueerVox Academy has been very much to like put these resources directly in the pockets of these people who have been an underserved community. But then the other side of it, which I'm more involved with, is our QueerVox VO directory, which is truly just a directory of like all these wonderful people from different levels of experience, different levels of acting, different genres of acting that they're involved with, all in a place for casting directors, agents, production companies, whoever, to find. And so, like, you know, I think we've all heard the excuses and like the reasons why sometimes casting goes awry, and like people just aren't given the opportunities that they deserve, whether it's for like characters that should probably be played by queer people, or whether it's just general pools that tend to be very, you know, exclusive. The industry doesn't change overnight. But I think, you know, with organizations like QueerVox, like a lot of really like hardworking folks out there that are like slowly pushing the needle forward, we are doing better with more authentic casting, but also diversifying like casting pools, who's getting auditions to begin with, giving people like a fair shot, which is all we can really ask for. Like that's all we can want. And so I feel really good about it.
Well, you're also a part of the change, so I guess that's what, you know, makes it even better.
Yeah, I go a little crazy. I get really passionate, and I want everything to be fair. I want people to do better and have the opportunities they deserve.
What change would you like to see in voice acting in the next few years?
I feel like actually I kind of want to answer this as the change I don't want to see.
Okay, I'm down for that.
Because it's AI.
Oh, okay.
It's, yeah, I mean, any talk that there's been about it, especially with like on camera, it's like 10 times worse with the voiceover. We are very much facing like a huge threat to our jobs. And so I hope and pray that we, you know, can respect the human element of like what is an art, like the human element of like creativity and storytelling enough to, you know, make sure we're not all replaced by AI.
It was wonderful speaking with you.
It was so nice talking to you.
Yeah, we get to meet for the first time in person, which is really awesome.
Crazy.
Let's play Befriend, Team Up, Defeat. I'm going to pick 3 names out of this hat. I think 1.
That's very fair.
2. You know, you can't see, I can't see. 3. And then I'm gonna name these 3 names off.
Okay.
We're gonna count to 3, and we're just gonna say who we're gonna befriend, who we're gonna team up with, and who we're gonna defeat.
All right, pressure is on.
So we have Lincoln Loud, Penny Proud, and Hercules. Okay.
Whew.
Yeah. Who are we gonna befriend? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Hercules?
Penny? Yeah.
I don't want to fight Hercules.
I don't want to fight him either.
Okay.
So we're gonna, team up. 1, 2, 3.
Penny
Hercules.
Proud.
That's a fair friendship. Or team up with. Yes, you see?
Because we're gonna fight a child.
This is not the first time. So we're gonna defeat Lincoln.
And I think either way we're gonna win.
Me too.
Right? Like, I could fight Lincoln and win. So honestly, at that point, maybe it's better we don't have Hercules fighting.
We'll go with that. I'll switch to what you said too.
Yeah.
Just because I do feel bad being...
It's not a fair fight.
No, and we're both adults.